was supposed to be a flight out of Nigeria has reportedly ended in a major drug trafficking investigation. A Lagos socialite popularly known as Casey Luxury has been arrested by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, in connection with a massive cocaine consignment estimated to be worth about 39 billion naira. And according to the NDLEA, the arrest happened at the very moment the suspect was allegedly trying to leave Nigeria for Paris. The development has raised major questions about the alleged drug operation, the people behind the consignment, and why the suspect was attempting to leave the country at such a critical moment. The suspect has been identified as Afolabi Kazeem, popularly known as Casey Luxury. The NDLEA said he was arrested on August 13, 2026 at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. According to the agency, Kazeem was preparing to board a business class flight to Paris when operatives intercepted him at the airport. The arrest reportedly followed an investigation into a huge cocaine consignment linked to a Cartel company. And this is where the story becomes even more significant. The NDLEA said it seized 184.5 kilograms of cocaine, when an estimated street value of approximately 39 billion naira. The agency described the operation as the largest cocaine seizure from a Cartel company in its history. That alone makes this one of the most significant drug trafficking cases reported by the agency in recent times. But the NDLEA did not arrest Kazeem alone. According to the NDLEA chairman, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, the agency also arrested Lawal Kehinde, an employee of a logistics company, in connection with the operation. The arrests, according to the agency, were part of an investigation into a suspected drug trafficking network. Marwa provided details of the operation during a press briefing on Tuesday. He said Casey Luxury was not simply traveling abroad when he was arrested. According to the NDLEA chairman, the suspect was allegedly attempting to escape the country on a business class flight to Paris. Marwa said operatives intercepted him at the boarding gate of the Lagos airport before he could leave Nigeria.
I will today be giving an account of the largest cocaine seizure in a courier house in the history of the agency, and one of the most significant and successful narcotics investigations undertaken by this agency in recent times. An investigation that has led to the unmasking and dismantling of an international cocaine trafficking cartel that has for years used Nigeria as a transit hub for the movement of illicit drugs to the United Kingdom, other parts of Europe, and Asia. This operation began with the interception by our operatives of a consignment of 184.50 kilograms of cocaine with a street value of approximately 27.7 million United States dollars, or 39 billion naira. The cocaine consignment was concealed for onward export through a courier logistics channel in Lagos, and I believe you have all seen the consignment placed over there on the table. Given the scale and sophistication of this seizure, I immediately directed the constitution of a special investigation team with a clear mandate to trace every mind and hand that touched this consignment and bring the entire network, not just the couriers, but the masterminds, to justice. I am pleased to report that this mandate has been substantially achieved.
The NDLEA chairman described the development as a major breakthrough in the agency's efforts to dismantle drug trafficking networks operating across the country. But investigators are now expected to look beyond the arrest itself. Who supplied the cocaine? Where was the consignment headed? Who else may have been involved? And was the attempted trip to Paris connected to the alleged drug operation? Those are some of the questions that the ongoing investigation will have to answer. The NDLEA also disclosed details about what investigators reportedly found during searches connected to the suspect. Mawa said KC Luxury was found with expensive jewelry, 100,000 naira in cash, 2,800 pounds, and 7,750 euros. The agency also said exotic vehicles were discovered at his apartment in Banana Island, Ikoyi, one of Lagos' most prominent residential areas. The discovery of luxury items and expensive vehicles is likely to form part of the wider investigation as authorities attempt to establish the source of the suspect's wealth and determine whether any assets are connected to proceeds from criminal activities. However, it is important to stress that the allegations remain allegations, while investigation and subsequent court proceedings determine the facts of the case. The NDLEA's case centers on the enormous cocaine consignment. At 184.5 kilograms, the seized substance represents a significant quantity of cocaine. The agency said the estimated value of the drugs was around 39 billion naira. To put the figure into perspective, the seizure is not simply another routine drug interception. The NDLEA itself described it as its biggest cocaine seizure involving a Cartel company. That means investigators will likely be looking closely at the logistics chain used to move the consignment. Cartel companies can provide legitimate transportation services, but traffickers can also attempt to conceal illegal consignments within legitimate commercial networks. The arrest of a logistic company employee alongside KC Luxury therefore adds another layer to the investigation. Authorities will need to establish whether the employee allegedly acted knowingly, whether other individuals were involved, and how the consignment entered the distribution chain. There is also the question of the international dimension. The suspect was allegedly preparing to travel to Paris when he was arrested. Whether Paris was simply his intended destination, or whether the trip had any connection with the alleged trafficking operation remains a matter of investigators to establish. The NDLEA said its operatives acted before the suspect could board the flight. Mawa said, "This cartel leader did not walk into our custody voluntarily. He intended to flee the country on a business-class flight to Paris." He added that operatives apprehended him at the boarding gate of Murtala Mohammed International Airport as he allegedly attempted to leave the country. The statement places the airport arrest at the center of the operation. For the NDLEA, the case is being presented as an example of intelligence-led enforcement, where investigators allegedly tracked the suspected network before making arrests and seizing the drugs. But the investigation is far from over. The authorities will now be expected to determine the origin of the cocaine, identify other members of the alleged network, trace financial transactions, and establish how the drugs were transported. The seizure also highlights the enormous financial incentive behind international drug trafficking. A cocaine consignment estimated at 39 billion naira represents an enormous potential criminal market. And dismantling such operations requires more than simply arresting individuals. Investigators must identify the financiers, suppliers, couriers, distributors, and other facilitators who may operate behind the scenes. For now, the NDLEA has KC Luxury and a logistic company employee in custody while investigations continue. The agency has not indicated that the investigation has ended, meaning additional arrests or charges could follow if investigators uncover evidence linking other individuals to the alleged operation. The case is therefore likely to attract significant attention as authorities attempt to unravel what the NDLEA described as a major cocaine trafficking operation. One thing is clear from the agency's account. A man allegedly preparing to leave Nigeria for Paris was stopped at Lagos Airport, and behind the arrest is a cocaine seizure estimated at 39 billion naira. The bigger story may now be what investigators discovered beyond the 184.5 kilograms already seized. Who was behind the consignment? Who was supposed to receive it? How far did the alleged network extend? And were there other people who knew about the shipment? Those questions could determine how far this investigation ultimately goes. As the NDLEA continues its investigations, the focus will now shift from the dramatic airport arrest to the wider network allegedly connected to the massive cocaine seizure. For KC Luxury, the next stage will be the legal process, where the allegations against him will be tested. And for the NDLEA, the challenge will be to establish the full chain behind what it has described as its largest cocaine seizure from a courier firm. If you want more major Nigerian crime and security stories explained clearly, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next report. I am Cassie Tony. Thanks for watching.